Greetings, this is Greg. I decided to do an early show today because there's a problem that's popped up with the Model 3 that was brought to my attention that I think all of you current owners and future owners of the Model 3 should be aware of. And that is the fact that, uh, well, so we'll go into that as we start our show. First, just a reminder, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks for joining us once again. If this is the first time on the channel, please take time to like and subscribe. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. I also wanted to note that we do have ads, and we'd appreciate your watching. 7 to 8 seconds of that would be helpful versus skipping. And also wanted to note that we're on 3 times a week, but perhaps a few more shows during the peak holiday season is the plan that we're working on right now. So expect to hear from us a little bit more than usual during this period. So today's show is kind of unusual because usually we don't break news. We're more commenting on general topics that are happening with Tesla. But in this case, I decided to make an exception. Last night, I got after we did my show, I actually got a call from one of our advisors, his name is Damien Roussan, and Damien is a buddy of mine from Stanford. He has a PhD, and without realizing it, Damien is one of our channel co-founders because he and I were having an argument about the future of Tesla. I suggested Tesla was going out of business. He thought otherwise. As I did my homework, I was impressed and decided to start this channel based on most of the things he suggested about Tesla. Damien is, as I said, a PhD in mechanical engineering from Stanford. He's also he was the owner of number 5000 Model S. He sold his Model S last year and purchased the 3. And which is where our urgent message comes from. So after the show, I'm going to be posting a thumbnail of an image that Damien shared with me last night, which I think all of you should take a look at very carefully. And I'm going to explain what you're seeing. I'll probably post this on our Teslafaninsight on Facebook as well, so you can go there if you don't want to review it as part of our thumbnail. So what happened was Damien explained that he went to dinner with a friend. His car is usually garaged. This is a Model 3 that's about 8 months old. It's black in color. So he went to dinner with a friend, parked it in I believe a paid parking lot, and went inside for dinner. When he came out, the image you see is what he found. So what happened is that someone had gone ahead and punched a hole in the small window at the rear of the vehicle. Upon the next thing that happened from his assessment was that person got a look inside the trunk and decided there was enough in there that would be worth breaking a larger window so they could get trunk access to steal what was in the trunk, I believe without opening the trunk, by coming through the window. So the question is, why is this an alert that I think is important for all current 3 and future 3 owners to note, as well as Tesla? The answer is that he has his phone for alarm alerts, but it turns out that all the glass in the car is not doesn't have a security on it, so you can break that glass without the alarm going off. So I was kind of surprised to hear this, given how tech savvy Tesla is. But even a motion sensor, in terms of a certain amount of movement in the car, would get the job done, and that's not available on the Model 3. So I believe that, so the question is sort of, what do you do if you're a 3 owner? And I think the answer is that I highly recommend that you not leave valuables, particularly in the trunk, because this is a vulnerability for the Model 3 that, one should note, because it could end up becoming a serious problem in terms of losing everything in your trunk based on the fact that the vehicle might be alarmed, but you won't know what's going on. Another thought that I had here was that there are a number of sort of panic button devices that you can put in the car, so if there's sudden movement or loud noise, an alarm would go off. And there's a bunch of aftermarket things that are in this regard, and I'll search for a couple and post on the bottom of this, so you're aware of what they are. Now, to follow this on, last night I actually went and in a place called McLean, Virginia, there's a place called Tyson's Corner. I went there and we stopped at the Tesla facility, not the service facility. In fact, I'm gonna go and maybe have a chat with the folks at the service facility. But we were actually at the store, and it was kind of a strange deal because I reviewed what happened with one of the representatives from Tesla that was introducing people to the cars, and he said, I haven't heard about this problem before, but I'll note it to our management to figure out kind of how to respond to that. So I think that it's an important thing to note. I didn't know about this vulnerability. Jan, one of our viewers from Norway, just articulated that this is a problem for the S as well, and therefore one would assume that the X has this issue as well. So if you're garaged all the time, be it at work or home, and only occasionally out, it may not be a big deal, but it looks like the tech-savvy folks in the Bay Area of San Francisco are exposed to a lot of Model 3s, and it looks like they've sort of developed a process for how to deal with the car, and I think this is very unfortunate. But my goal in posting right away was to make sure all of you are aware of the problem, and we'll see, if and how Tesla chooses to respond. Now, the next section of what I want to cover is turnaround times and repair work by Tesla. So Damien, who's agreed to come on our show, and I think I'll bring him on as we're able to work out the scheduling to do so, he went through a process so the car was broken into a week ago Friday, so let's call it 10 days ago. It took him until Wednesday the following week to get the glass replaced. He went through probably 8 hours of phone and other contact with Tesla before they could get the repair work done. And he sort of articulated some of the challenges that all of you that have been trying to get repair work from Tesla done have articulated. The end repair ended up being done by a mobile repair person from Tesla. But when he first contacted them, there was a whole bunch of issues that resulted in having to give basically a day of work to get the car fixed. Among the issues is the fact that the number of people trained on this problem is kind of low right now, and he was pointing out the right hand didn't know the left, so he spoke with some representatives that said, we didn't know what to do, we think you should just go pick up the glass and have it installed by somebody else from the Tesla plant. Frankly, I thought that was an interesting response, because for those of you who are having problems getting your car fixed, one of the solutions might be, for whatever the item might be, in this case glass that's unique to Tesla, having a pickup or a purchase at the factory might be a better way to go. There was a body shop that he went to in Berkeley, California, that indicated that we do not work on Teslas, but if you wanted to go ahead and pick up the glass and bring it to us, we could do the install for you. So I was kind of surprised by this, because there are a number of you around the world waiting for repair work on your car. And this brings up the question, should you have a representative, maybe a Lyft or an Uber or one of those guys, or even FedEx, go by the facility and pick up a prepaid part, be it glass or other parts, rather than waiting for your local service facility to get parts that are very hard to get a hold of. So I wanted to throw that out there as a suggestion as well, because particular Norway, but there are other places as well where there's a long waiting list for parts for owners who've had damage of some sort to their vehicles. I was sort of intrigued by his response here, how Damien responded to this whole situation, given that he is one of my biggest fans of Tesla out there, and sort of got me into studying and understanding the vehicle better, and understanding better the potential impact of the revolution that Tesla is bringing about. So just to review, don't leave valuables in the car, because from what a lot of folks are saying, both the S and the Model 3 do not have alarm on the glass. So if the window is smashed, it's likely you'll lose whatever's in the car, particularly the trunk, because of folks that have gotten wind of how this process works and the fact that they can do a theft without the owner being aware of the problem. The next thing I wanted to sort of finish up with today is the fact that I was sort of fascinated by a problem that we saw. If you look at our last show, the parking lot is completely full. And when we went to our representative at the Tesla store, he indicated that if you want to buy a Model 3 right now, it's between 1 and 3 months away, depending on how it's configured. And I asked him about the fact that, you know, the service facility is full of cars. And is it possible that you could just take quicker delivery by just selecting something that's already sitting in the lot? The representative indicated that's possible, but many of those cars have been specifically ordered by customers, and therefore you're seeing vehicles that may already have or should already have a buyer that ordered that vehicle. So most, if not all, of those vehicles are already spoken for. I thought that was interesting. It's a shame to see them sitting there, and I was kind of wondering about why cars would sit there for an extended period. And I'm now seeing, like, one of my viewers who just got his Model 3 was reviewing the fact that there were 2 weeks of title holdups in terms of getting the title worked out on the car. That meant his car sat there for 2 weeks before he received it, based on paperwork problems. So the nature of the issues that are slowing down delivery on the back end seem to be continuing and are an ongoing problem. So being alert and aware is probably a good idea if you want your car to arrive in a timely fashion, as well as undamaged, etc. A reminder again that I really want to encourage all of you who are viewers who are in the United States to actually consider flying out to California and taking possession of your car in Cali. And even if you don't drive it back, and if you have it shipped back, you know, eliminate the headaches that are showing up in the delivery portion of what Tesla is doing currently. I think is actually a very smart move. The last thing I wanted to cover today is the fact that the other thing that's happening right now is, for U.S. buyers, you have until the 30th of November to order your car in order to get the $7,500 tax credit. So you may want to do a test drive schedule and get that order in, because $7,500 I think definitely helps in the ownership sort of move into process. And I think, you know, there's enough dollar incentive there. If you're going to be purchasing the car for a couple of months, it's worth the time to go ahead and make the move to secure that. You know, it's interesting because yesterday's conversation with the Tesla folks actually brought up another issue relative to the stock and where things are going. And that is that if you look around the country at different service facilities, there are a lot of cars on the ground right now. And one of the arguments made by one of the hedge fund managers as to why Tesla is going to do poorly is the fact that there's been a reduction in the number of buyers given the higher price point vehicles for the Model 3. And based on the fact that there's between a 1 and 3 month delay in getting a newly ordered Model 3, it suggests that demand has not tapered despite the fact that we've gotten through most of the folks who want the more expensive versions of the Model 3. So I think this also suggests good things for the stock, that there is this delay still in getting the vehicle, because had the delay been a couple of days or 2 or 3 weeks, it's a suggestion that they fully caught up with everything in terms of those who might want to purchase have already done so. So I think this is also a note that one might put in terms of anticipating where Tesla will be when it comes to numbers. I also think that the whole tax credit issue could also be pushing the numbers higher than they might otherwise have been. And so we'll see if it kind of crashes on the back end. But there's just so much demand out there for the car that I don't see this being a huge issue. At this point of the show, we're heading for our 15 to 16 minutes. We typically shout out, hello, Jan. Wanted to say hello to others that have said hello from around the world. Thanks for taking time out to visit with us. I just did my 20 leg lifts per leg in terms of making sure legs are straightened. Wanted to encourage you to do that. Just a reminder also, please make sure that you don't go to bed within 2 hours of eating, preferably 4 hours, to let the food digest. Because if you do get acid indigestion, the over-the-counter remedies will actually diminish the discomfort, but the damage is still being done. So it's highly recommended that you refrain from late night eating prior to jump in bed. Wow. Terrific. Thanks for the note there, Donovan, regarding the long lines to see the Model 3. In Europe, as in Stockholm, as they introduced the vehicle there. There'll be long lines in every city, and the reason is I think that because of how much gas in the U.S., as I've said, is about $2.50 a gallon. In Europe, it's about $8 a gallon. So I think the Model 3 is going to have a lot more demand in Europe than it is in the United States, Europe, and Asia, and other places where fuel costs are very high. So thanks for that update. Actually, it'd be nice to see some photos there. If you could ship them over or post them to our Teslafaninsight at Facebook, that would be kind of cool. Okay. You're putting it in liters in terms of the cost, 17.5 kroners per liter. I don't know what that, the conversion rate is, but that's a number that all of you might find interesting to review. So I'm going to get my half-hour walk in, make sure I take my omega-3 vitamin as well for the day. We do have a couple more shows coming out this week, and as we've talked about, in particular, our next show is focused on the battery, but I wanted to get this urgent message out because this is a vulnerability of the Model 3 that I think really is important to note, because you potentially have damage to the car as well. In some places, for those of you in high density areas, you may put a note in the car indicating that there's no valuables in the car. Might be a good idea because it might save you some broken glass for folks that might have to go in and search to confirm that if you're in an area where break-ins are common. Okay. Terrific. Thanks for the comment there, Donovan, regarding the conversion. Obviously, we can all use the online tools to figure out what the numbers are, but the general point is if you're in America, European gas prices don't affect us, but if you're in Europe, clearly they do. Any rate, I wanted to again thank you all for joining us. Please remember to like and subscribe. We will be back with a new show tomorrow, and look forward to making sure that we offer good info that's of value to everyone involved. It's Tesla stock price closed at $355. Okay, so you're saying it's in Stockholm, it's $9 per gallon or US gallon for fuel, and that sounds about right. And this is why I think the demand is going to be greater in Europe than it is here in the United States for the Model 3. Just a reminder, we do have ads. We'd appreciate it if you watch, 8 to 10 seconds of it there. Would be helpful to support the channel. We do have our Patreon link beneath. There's also a link there for a Model S ownership, and it'll save you in a number of ways. Again, thanks once again for joining us in German. Tschüss, in French, au revoir. Chinese, ni hao ma. Farsi, Khoda Hafez. Hebrew, Lahitraot. And farvel in Dutch. And in Jamaica, we say, "Nuff respect, walk good, man." That's for you, Donovan. And again, thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on our next show. Thank you also, Jan.